Hello, this is literally the first video I have ever done quite like this on YouTube, and I am a little anxious, but I'm also a little bit excited because I have wanted to do this for a very long time. So, hi, my name's Anna, and this is Celtic Homestead. So, I am very excited to begin a project that I've been thinking of doing for a while now. And the inspiration was a different YouTuber that I have followed for a while, and her name is Rachel Maxey, and she's very, very talented in creating very unique styles of modern clothing that are inspired by older, more vintage designs. So she has posted a video on how she made a pinafore, which is essentially a style of dress that kind of resembles, I don't want to say an apron? Yeah, kind of, a little bit. It kind of resembles an apron, but it's unique in that it has a full skirt all the way around and a front piece with often crisscross X straps in the back, and there's a lot of freedom to do fun designs with the pockets, and I'm excited to try it because I have some linen I would love to use, and it is the first day of September, and so I want to make something that would work for autumn. And I have a lot of shirts like this that I like the autumn vibe with like brown plaid, and yeah, so we are going to start this, and I hope you all are willing to come on this adventure with me because I'm excited to be actually recording my creative process, and I hope you all enjoy it. So, we're gonna get started. We're back. Alright, so here we are in my creative attic space, and it's kind of my upstairs attic room, and I like to use this space because it's an extra room in my house that we're not using. So, a couple days ago, had laid out some fabric, some old linen, and I hadn't really thought about what I was going to use it for yet until now. So, I'm going to show that to you now. Okay, so here is my linen down here. It is about, if I remember correctly, about 2 yards of material. We have here a couple patterns that I have started to draft out. This here is the bodice that I have pattern drafted, and it is basically just cut one of this on the main fabric, and as you can see I did some adjustments here with darts and deciding how I want it to look. I'm not totally convinced that I'm good and happy with this bodice pattern yet, but we're going to tweak around with it a little bit, and the way you would do something like this is by taking your own measurements and then laying them onto the paper, and if you want to, you can do a fabric mock-up, but I just took my measurements, my bust measurement, my waist measurement, the measurement from my bust to my waistline, and basically just sketched that. And I probably will do a mock-up just so I can drape it on me and see if the bodice is the size it wants, because I don't have enough fabric to be able to mess around, because I want this to be a very full skirt, and so this is my skirt piece here. And as you can see, this is one panel, but I'm going to be cutting 6 of them. So, 6 panels out of this. There will be 3 in the front and 3 in the back. So a very nice full skirt. And the width will actually extend lower than this because I want it longer. I am almost 6 foot tall, and I don't want to have to mess around with things being too short. So these are my 2 pattern pieces, and I am going to do a little bit more of drafting on these 2 before I start to create a mock-up. Probably not a mock-up of the skirt because I'm pretty confident that that's going to work, but definitely a muslin mock-up of this bodice top. So we are going to get started on that right now. Also, just for reference here, this is kind of what the texture of the linen looks like. This is 100% linen, It is a heavyweight linen, so it doesn't flow quite as well as some other types of linen would. It is a little bit coarser. You can kind of actually make out the individual fibers in the fabric. It probably could do with a little bit of more washing so that it can get a little more flexible and will breathe a little bit better, but I'm going to work with it as it is right now because yes, it's a rougher linen, but this type of dress I think will work well for what I am attempting. So on to pattern drafting the bodice. Okay, so I have pinned this bodice about how it would look. Obviously I didn't iron it, and I couldn't be bothered to make sure that both of the darts were even, but that's okay because this is really just a mock-up so that I can lie it on my front and see if it is about the size I would like it. I wanted to make sure before I cut it out of the main linen that I cut it out of this muslin first so that I could check and see if I like how it looks on me. So I'm going to drape it on me right now and we will see if it works. All right, we're back. Day 2. All right, I was able to get the bodice pretty much finished, which is really exciting. I say bodice when it's really just a piece of fabric that goes over the front part of you. So, bodice. But, and I also was able to get all of the bottom pieces cut out, which I will show you in a minute. So, I've got the bodice piece with the front and the lining sewn together, which you saw me cutting out and sewing together yesterday. And then I was able to, at the end of the day when I lost light, cut out the 6 triangle pieces that will make up the very full, voluptuous skirt. I'm very excited about that. So, let's go over to the carpeted sewing floor and show you what I'm talking about. So this is essentially what I was able to accomplish last night. I will give you a close-up, but basically I was able to sew 6 pieces. So as you can see from the pattern over there on my table, I cut out 6 triangular pieces. Okay, I got closer so that you could better see what I was talking about. Ignore the little rectangle cut out of the bottom. That was just me being lazy and not having enough paper to finish off my pattern. But basically, what's going on here is you have that top measurement is a 1/6 of the circumference of my waist, because I knew I wanted 6 panels like this to make up the skirt. So that top part is a 1/6 of the measurement of my waist. And then the rest of this, the length, really you can determine how long you want it. I wanted my skirt down past my knee, but that is totally up to your preference. So this one will be 28 inches long from the natural waist to below my knee. And then the top is 4.5 inches in width on the top, that small part, because that is a 1/6 of the circumference of my waist roughly, with seam allowance not considered. So when I cut these, I added in the seam allowance. But essentially then, what I created was 3 of those panels that I cut out and sewed together for each side, for the front and the back. And now I am going to sew those 2 together. And then I didn't realize this until last night, but I don't have any plan for a closure. So I'm probably going to have to open up this center back so that I will be able to button it. So I'll probably end up cutting a slit of some kind down the center back with buttons. But yes, so that is where we are at currently at this point. And I also wanted to show you, here is the finished result of the bodice. So it turned out pretty nice. I really like these princess lines. I think they turned out really, really nice and pretty. So I just took those darts in where I had measured on my body, and then did the same thing for a muslin lining on the back. And again, darts can be as wide or as narrow as you want them to be. I just measured them on myself and then did a carbon copy of 1 pattern piece for the front and then 1 piece for the lining. So there you have it, the bodice and the beginnings of some skirt magic going on down here. So next is to start to try to assemble all of this together, primarily by focusing on getting the skirt into a circle with some kind of a closure. So yeah, on to figuring that out.
So I just realized I'm kind of the worst because I was so caught up in how to create this next part that I forgot to film. But the good thing is it's actually very simple. So basically all I did here, I know this looks like, oh wait, you went from no finished product to an almost finished product. But actually all I did here is this is that top piece. So last night when I was wrapping up that second day, pretty much all I did was take all 6 of those panels and cut and basically recreate the entire skirt. I cut out an entire second layer. Here, now you can see it better. So I just flipped up the skirt And you can see here the 6 panels that are the lining layer. And essentially I just recreated the skirt again, but in muslin, and I sewed the side seams over here to make it into a full circle. And what I ended up doing for the closure over here, I did not go down the center back. Instead, I slit the sides back open. And I'm going to have 3 buttons right here to help close it. But I slit the side open and I created a waistband. So this waistband is, I wanted a 2-inch waistband, so I cut a 3-inch wide strip so that I had a 1/2 inch for seam allowance on each side. And I cut it to the length of my waist, so about 28, 29 inches, depending on how much seam allowance I wanted. And then I took that strip, copied it, and also cut it out of the lining, and cut it in half because there's a closure like this on each side. There'll be buttons on each side because symmetry. I am a crazy symmetrical person. But, and then I stitched the outside fabric waistline to the skirt, and then I stitched the inside lining waistline to the skirt. And then once I had those 2 very separate skirts, I tucked them right sides together. So I had this outer layer the way it is, and then I took the inside lining portion of the skirt, turned it inside out so that the pretty side was facing the inside, and then I put, I'm going to use a burrito analogy, but I slipped that outer, the part that's now inside, I slipped it over this outer garment with the 2 right sides together so that this inner layer was like a burrito around the outside of this one. And then I literally just pinned and stitched all the way around this waistline and then turned it right side out and ironed it. So I probably will top stitch this at some point to make sure it doesn't roll, but I have not done that yet. And then with regards to this top piece, this is the part where I'm a little ashamed. But literally all I did for this top piece was, it was a little longer than I wanted it to be. So basically all I did was put it on me, pin it where I wanted it to go, and then I top stitched in the ditch to secure this to the waistline. I know, not a little bit of a non-conventional way of doing it, but it works for me. So what it looks like from this side, you really can't see it too badly, but I stitched in the ditch on both of those seams there to secure this piece to the waistband. But that's what happens when you are drafting your own pattern, and I'm actually happy with how it turned out. So now we are on to finishing the hem down here by hand, because I like to not be able to see my hem. So I'm going to do a rolled hem by hand, and then on to putting in the buttons and the buttonholes and putting on some straps on this thing.
All right, so it's finished. I really, really love it a lot. To put it simply, it turned out a lot better than I thought it would. So some things that went well. I really like how the closures turned out. I was a little concerned at first because I realized I didn't actually want a back closure and I don't have a zipper. So when I thought of the side closures, I thought this is either going to work really well or it's going to really, really, really not work. So I'm excited with how they turned out. The only change I think I'm going to make is I'm going to add a 4th button up here because we have to match. This side I didn't do the spacing as well as I could have. So we're gonna put a 4th button and buttonhole here, and then to make sure that it's even, I'm gonna put a 4th one up here on this side. Another big plus, I love this fabric so much. It turned out absolutely beautiful. I was worried that the heavyweight linen wasn't going to flow very well, and actually the opposite was true. It flows so nicely and it works so nice, like the color just works with almost all of my button-up tops. Obviously, since you saw the reveal, I opted for no pockets, or at least no patch pockets on the front. That was initially not my idea. That was my boyfriend that said, and I quote, "Why would you deface the beautiful front of this dress with patch pockets?" And I said, "But they're so pretty." But then ultimately I had to agree, because when I pinned them into place, they didn't really work very well with the princess lines that I have going here. They kind of, I wasn't totally sure where to put them, and they were so big that I thought, maybe he's right. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to slit open the side below where the buttons are and put in some hidden pockets. So we still have pockets, but not patch pockets. One other thing I think I might do differently is the amount of curvature that this bodice has. Since I've been wearing it a little bit, it kind of is flopping like this. So I'm thinking I might either fold this under and sew it, or next time maybe just put some stabilizer or some kind of fusible interfacing in there to stiffen this bodice piece a little bit to keep that from curling. But otherwise, I'm really excited with how it turned out. What's even more exciting is, since this is my own creation of a pattern, I'm going to be posting this pattern as a commercial pattern that you can buy on my Etsy shop. So I still have to figure out how to create that, but once I have created it, you can look for it on my Etsy shop. If you like this and want to make it yourself, you will have the ability to do that. I'm hoping to be able to make more YouTube videos. I already know what my next project is going to be, so that's exciting. And it has to do with the season that we're currently in, autumn, and within the spirit of costuming. So if you're interested in seeing what other creations I have in mind, feel free to come back to this YouTube channel, and I hope you all have a lot of fun creating. Bye. So, today I have a plan. So, today I am going to be working on a project that I saw inspired. Does this work? I think so. We're back. So, day 2, I was able to top of their coop.